All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, call I'm La Alahainawa Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai Ba'ashim Howard Kakwadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who will teach well, and the heart of shalom to the elect. All right, it's your brother Karat is back again with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. And I want to say to Wadi Yabashim Yahushai for allowing me to do this lesson. All right, so as you can see on the screen, I asked ChatGPT to please be specific in the comparison of America to Babylon the Great. And I'm going to go over one topic, Lord willing, out of the 7 that you see here, a day, or a lesson. Let me say that, a lesson. Okay, so it says here, so part 1 is going to be on wealth and luxury. So it says here, that's a deep and controversial topic, but I'll break it down clearly for you. Many people, especially in prophetic or end times discussions, draw to parallel lines between America and Babylon the Great as described in Revelation 17 and 18. While the Bible does not name America, some interpreters see characteristics of modern America reflected in the prophetic imagery. I'll give you specific comparisons based on scripture and America's traits. Okay, this was crazy. All right, this was crazy. Slack you. So let's look up this word characteristics right quick. All right, characteristics. An attribute in a noun sense. Okay. All right, and an attribute is something that something is something that something is a thing that something or someone shows you. Okay, an attribute that comes to my mind as an example, for an example, okay, is that just when playing basketball, you have some individuals that are really good shooters at the 3-point line. And then you have individuals that are slashers or athletic to the sense where they can get to the hole easily and dunk the ball, okay? So the attributes and the characteristics or in the line of basketball, you got 3-point shooters that shoot well, or shooters is what they call them. And then you have individuals that are slashers and dunkers, okay? Those are some attributes within that. Those are some attributes that individuals can have while they're playing basketball, okay? So just to help you get an understanding of what a characteristic is or attribute. Okay, so topic number 1, which is today's lesson, it says wealth and luxury. Babylon the Great, Revelation 18 and 3 and 11 through 13, described as a nation empire overflowing with riches, trading, and luxury goods, and making the nations of the earth rich. Okay, so let's go read these. And to Wadi, how about you, Shai, for letting me do this lesson? All right, so this is Revelation 18 and 1. It says, and after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth lighted with his glory, and cried with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean bird. Now, Babylon, back in the time of Nebuchadnezzar, all right, that's modern day Iraq. And since that's modern day Iraq, the things that you read here when it says it is become the habitation of devils and the hold of every foul spirit and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird, that's not happening over there in modern day Iraq or ancient Babylon, okay? This is talking about future Babylon, America, okay? All right, and you can read this in Isaiah the 36th chapter or the 34th chapter. There's the 34th chapter. Yeah, 34 and 11. Okay. You can start at 11 and then it goes all the way to 15. Okay. All right. So going back to Revelations 18 and verse 3, it says, "For all nations have drunken of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies." Let's read that in the NLT. It says, "For all the nations have fallen because of the wine of her passionate immorality." All right. You got the homosexuality. You got the greed. You got the... Those are the two things. One of the only two things I can come up with. All right, Salakia, as some of the immoral practices, immoral practices that America has. Okay. It says the kings of the world have committed adultery with her because of her desires for extravagant luxury. The merchants of the world have grown rich. All right, so let's read this again. Described as a nation under wealthy and luxury, described Babylon the Great, described as a nation / empire overflowing with riches, trading in luxury goods, and making the nations of the earth rich. All right, that's Revelation 18 at 3. I read 11 to 13. So like you. It says here, "And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore." Why is nobody buying the merchandise? Well, why will nobody be buying the merchandise? Let's say that in the future. Because one, you hear in verse 10, it says this great city is destroyed in 1 hour. And then just look at it. Trump got all these tariffs going to affecting these other countries. And then ultimately, guess what? That dollar that's spent for these extra goods that are bought, or for these goods that's bought from these other countries, you as a consumer pays for that. Well, when the consumer runs out of money, who's going to be buying all these things? Okay. Nobody. So that's why you see businesses closing down. All right, they were closing down last year and the year before at a high rate. They're even closing down now even more. Okay, but verse 11 says, "And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buy their merchandise anymore. The merchandise of gold and silver, and of precious stones, and of pearls and fine linen, and pearl and silk and scarlet, and all thine wood, and all manners of ivory, and all manner vessels of ivory, and all manner vessels of precious wood, and of brass, and of iron, and marble, and cinnamon, and odors, and ointments, and frankincense, and wine, and oil, and fine flour, and wheat, and beasts, and sheep, and horses, and chariots, and slaves, and souls of men." All the resources that these other nations push forth to America to consume, all right, is going to be stopped short. Okay, one way, okay, is because you see here, if you pay attention to stuff on social media, right, economic wise, all right, the dollar is losing its value. Okay, people can't afford to pay their rent anymore, so that extra money that people may have had at one point, that disposable income is slowly depleting away. Okay. Verse 14, it says, let me make sure I'm reading it, 11 through 13. Okay, yeah. So all those resources, okay, so now I had did some Googling, right? All right, let's see, let's go over here. Let's finish this Slakia. So now let's go here to where it says America. It says America, one of the wealthiest nations in the world, global hub of trade, consumerism, luxury goods, many economies depend on U.S. markets. Okay, so I Googled Slovakia. I Google how many economies depend on the United States. Let's see. Hold on. How many economies depend on America? Okay. So it says here, it is impossible to provide an exact number of economies that the U.S. that depend on the U.S. as having dependency is a complex concept with varying degrees of reliance, but many countries are deeply integrated into the U.S. economy through trade, investment, and financial flows. The U.S. is the world's largest single economy and a major global trader with trade relations with over 200 countries and territories. Countries like China and Canada and Mexico have economies deeply intertwined with the U.S., while nations around the globe rely on U.S. for business, investment, and technology. So here we go. I didn't really read the why quantifying dependence is difficult. Didn't really look at that. But here goes some stuff right here, especially in the trade department. It says examples of economic relationships. Global trade. The U.S. is a major trading partner for countries worldwide, accounting a substantial portion of global trade accounting for a substantial portion of global trade flows. All right, and then investment and finance. It says the U.S. dollar serves as the primary currency for global trade and finance, influencing global financing conditions. U.S. investment also plays a significant role in various countries' economies. Okay, so America, this is one characteristic, okay, in regards to many economies dependent on U.S. markets. You can equate to America being Babylon the Great, okay? So here goes another one. So here it says here, when you look in America again, under the title of America, it says consumerism, all right? So I said, how is America labeled as a consumer state, okay? It says the U.S. is labeled as a consumer state because consumer spending is the primary engine of its economy and foundational part of its cultural identity. The designation reflects an economic structure where consumption is crucial for growth, influenced by historical policies, robust advertising, and cultural values. All right, let's talk about the robust advertising. Consumerism is promoted everywhere, okay? On the billboards, on the television, in the music, on the movies, on your phone, on social media, wherever. All it does is say buy, 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 eat, 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 drink, 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 get this thing, get this thing, get that thing. And what it does at the end of the day, it boosts America's, you know, um, it boosts America's consumerism state, okay? Because again, the things that America or Americans consume, 9 times out of 10, they come from a different country, okay? And then let's talk about the cultural values, okay? Especially within the black community, okay? The cultural values that are pushed within the black community is that, hey, if you don't have money, you're not anything. Or if you can't get this, you don't have that, you don't have anything, all right? Especially it's pushed within the music, it's pushed within the television, that, get money and all this other stuff so you can buy all these expensive, needless things, okay? All right? Here you go. Let's look at this. Let's look at this. Role of cultural and historical factors. Role of advertising. Modern, sophisticated advertising creates and amplifies consumer demand. Advertising messages influence cultural values, suggesting that happiness, social status, and personal identity are linked to purchasing specific goods and services. something I just mentioned, and that's highly pushed in the so-called Black, Latino, and Native American Indian community, especially amongst the kids. Okay, and I've been subject to that. Materialism and the American dream. It says here the American dream has evolved from an idea of social equality to one often associated with material prosperity and consumerism. Historically, purchasing goods for the home, like appliances, was framed as pragmatic, moral way to build a good life, helping to alleviate cultural anxieties about materialism. Okay, so it was once fancied as a it was once fancied as buying certain things to make life a little bit easier. But now, if you're frowned upon if you don't have the newest Jordans, or you don't have the best luxury car, you don't have the biggest house. But let's look at how the consequences of it, right? Consequences of high consumerism. Social and psychological effects. The pressure to keep up with the Joneses can lead to anxiety, unsustainable debt levels, while the relentless focus on acquiring material possessions can overshadow other values. Right? And if the only value that America pushes is, hey, have this dream, get this money, get all these things that you need and want, the spiritual morality of people are going out the way. Okay, let's see. Encourages innovation. The constant demand for new and better products fuels innovation and creativity in competitive marketplace. That could be good in some sense. Strain on resources. Critics note that hyper-consumerism strains natural resources, generates massive amount of waste, contributes to environmental problems like climate change. Like you hear, they have all these in the sea. They have all these um, trash islands and things of that nature. And then I seen a video some time ago where individuals, where it's clothes, it's high end clothes. There's so much of it made, they get taken to another country, dumped somewhere. I'm just trying to recall what I remember from this video. They dump these clothes somewhere and into another country, and the people are going through it to put clothes on for themselves and on their body, right? But this is just another tall tale sign, okay, that America is Babylon the Great, spoken of in the Bible, okay? Look, it says right here, fuel for global trade. Because American consumers have high disposable incomes, the U.S. is the world's top consumer market. This makes it a crucial target for foreign businesses and a key driver for international trade. Is that not what we read here? Under wealth and luxury, all right. America is Babylon the Great, okay? America is Babylon the Great, all right? Hopefully you can see that. The Wadi Habashim al Shah for allowing me to do this lesson. Lord will use edify to the next time. Shalom.